Okay, welcome everyone. Our webinar today is the best of both worlds, hybrid monitoring. Our presenters are from RPR Wyatt, Alan Forbes, the Vice President of Product Management, and Tarun Tadapali, the Practice Manager for MS Microsoft Technologies. Apologize, I'm just reading off a screen here and not paying attention. So he's the Practice Manager of Microsoft Technologies at RPR Wyatt. Their website is listed here below. Just a couple of house cleaning items here as we begin. If you have questions as Alan and Tarun do their presentation, you can expand your GoToWebinar panel using the red box with the white arrow. And there will be a section for questions. You can type in those questions as we go along so you don't lose that question, and it can be queued up so that the presenters know that question is there, and then we can be ready to answer that at the end of their presentation. The webinar is being recorded, so if one of your colleagues or your manager, your boss was not able to attend, we can share that link with them later and they can watch the replay. One more item after that is that, again, during the fall webinar series, Notes Code and the presenters of the webinar are offering a nice little prize. Traditionally, we have given a prize away to one winner to win a trip to ConnectEd. So again, another name change from Lotusphere to Connections and now ConnectEd. Or this year you could select to win a Mac Pack instead of the trip. So you would win a MacBook Air, an iPad Air, and an Apple TV. So nice little choice, nice little prize for either of those packages. But good luck to everyone. And okay, I'm done with my housekeeping items. And Alan, I want to give you as much time as possible. So I'm going to switch the screen over to you, and I'll let you know when I see your screen.
Does my name go in the hat for the Mac Pack?
It can, but if you win, you know, it's going to look really bad.
I think that would look pretty suspicious, wouldn't it?
It definitely would.
Yeah. All right, so my screen is visible now?
It is. We see your screen.
Awesome. All right, I am super stoked to be doing this presentation because we've been working on our Microsoft monitoring for some time now. What I'm going to do is a 2 or 3 minute PowerPoint presentation, and then we're going to jump right into the demo. What I want to start off with is just the core mission of VitalSigns, and that is to provide proactive and comprehensive monitoring. And really what we try to do is identify issues with any type of server before they become outages. And our breadth of the types of servers that we can now monitor is getting wider. I'm excited about that. What we do is we automatically test the core functions of each server, and of course different server types have different core functions, so that's part of the challenge for us. But what we do is we bury that all in Windows services so that the end user doesn't have to know really what we're doing about it. We just sort of take care of it, and we put it all onto a simple and concise dashboard. And the point of the dashboard is to give you one place to look for overall status. And then we do offer reports that let you look at, specific system performance trends or resource management. But everything you see in the dashboard is clickable, and you'll see that in just a minute. And the product itself is optimized for larger organizations in that if you want to, you can limit what certain groups of users see. So, for instance, one of our customers is the United Nations International Computing Center, and they have different regions, and different regional administrators are responsible for different groups of servers. And on their dashboard, they've just set up their users to say, okay, you get the African servers, and a different admin sees the EMEA servers, and so forth. And it's nice because the two groups generally don't get into each other's server areas. Another important thing about VitalSigns is that when it does discover a problem, you have to notify the right person, because it's not a guarantee that the person is just sitting around all day looking at our dashboard, as nice as our dashboard is. So we have an alerting mechanism which figures out based on the server type and the location and the time of day and so forth, which person or group of persons should be notified, and that notification goes out to let the IT staff know that there's a potential threat to your smooth operation. The other thing is that VitalSigns is 100% browser-based. Once you install it on a virtual machine in the server room somewhere, and it's built on top of the Microsoft stack of ASP, the Active Server Pages technology, and IIS, and we use SQL Server in the background and so forth. That installation is automatic. Once you have that part going, everything else you can do from the browser. It is also our core mission to stay ahead of market trends, particularly around the movement to the cloud that we see, and I'll talk about that in an upcoming slide. And of course, we want to be a cost-effective solution for people. So some of the trends that we have been seeing is that IBM on-premises has been our sort of bread and butter for the last 15 or 20 years or so, but that there is transition in the marketplace, both from on-premises from IBM on-prem to the Microsoft on-prem, and we have a dozen or more of our customers that now use Notes exclusively for applications and use Microsoft for their mail, and that's on-prem. But we also are talking to customers that are moving off of on-prem and moving into mostly Office 365. But we are hearing some rumblings about IBM Smart Cloud too, and one of the things I'd be interested to hear feedback from this audience is, if you are moving to the cloud, where is it that you're intending to go? But even those companies that move to the cloud often have a hybrid environment for a number of years. So the platforms that VitalSigns supports today include IBM, which is our historical strength of Domino, Traveler, Sametime. We do poke into DB2 a bit now, but today it's only in the context of a Traveler HA installation. So if you're using Traveler HA, you can have the back end of either SQL Server or DB2, and we test both of those back ends to make sure that your Traveler HA environment is not developing any problems. On the Microsoft side now, we now do Exchange 2010 and 2013 for on-premises, and Lync 2013 on-premises, and SharePoint 2013 on-premises. We also, based on customer demand, have come up with a sort of generic Windows server that you can monitor. So you can say, I want to monitor this host name, and it's not necessarily in a specific role of running Lync or ShareTime or SharePoint or anything else, but you want to watch over it for disk space and CPU and memory and Windows services. So that's an exciting development for us. Some of our future plans moving forward is, of course, to go to Office 365 and do some Active Directory. Also, we do hear from a lot of customers that are sticking under the IBM umbrella are moving to IBM Connections, and that does seem to be a fairly involved migration, so we don't have more than a handful of customers that have already moved fully over there, but there is still a lot of intention to go there. And WebSphere, of course, we want to expand our DB2 monitoring from just the context of Traveler to make it more generic. And then with IBM Smart Cloud, which I understand has since been renamed since I made this slide just a week ago, that's going to depend on customer interest and what we hear from you guys about that. One of our biggest customers, the biggest bank in the world, is moving off of Sametime and moving onto the Cisco Jabber platform, which is more formally known as the Unified Communications Manager, Instant Messenger, and Presence product. sort of following the naming convention of IBM when they renamed Sametime something that was a big long mouthful like that, and then ultimately renamed it back. And of course, cloud applications. Now, even our own organization, we're already moving to the cloud just internally here. We use Jira for all of our issue tracking, and we use Salesforce for our CRM. Also, lots of other cloud applications that are becoming mission critical for people. One of our customers is World Vision, and they take online donations. So Stripe and PayPal are applications that are mission critical to them. So we're ready when you are. As you move to the cloud and move to hybrid environments, VitalSigns is going to be ahead of it and ready to go when you guys are. So I have just one more slide here, which is our mobile app, and I have to do this one as a slide because I couldn't figure out how to sort of mirror my phone onto the screen here, so we mocked up a screenshot of it. Our mobile app for VitalSigns is native iOS and Android app, and if you are a VitalSigns customer, you can just go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, and it is a free app, and you just put in the host name URL for where VitalSigns is running in your organizations, and you'd have a screen like this that shows your servers and their current status, and you can have that in your pocket wherever you go. All right, so let's demo. I always think the demos are the best part of something like this. So put this aside. And while I was talking, I did time out here. So let me say that the way that VitalSigns works is once you've got it installed, you have either a host name or an IP address that you navigate to, and you put in your credentials. And then it will take you to the page that you prefer. So there's a number of pages in here, and as part of your profile, you can say, I want to go to the dashboard, or I want to go to the configurator, or I want to go to an executive summary page. Depends on what you're most interested in. The dashboard that you see is running in Firefox in my case. The dashboard is intended for the broader audience of IT plus managers plus possibly help desk plus whoever you want to share this status information with. And there's a couple of different ways that you can render it. You can allow people to click down to certain levels or not, and you can also show a subset of servers and locations or not to the different audiences that you have configured. In our case, I'm, Mr. Super Admin, so I get to see everything here. Our environment internally includes BlackBerry servers, Domino servers, Exchange servers. Those Exchange servers are in a database availability group. We also have a Sametime server. We have a Traveler server. We have some URLs that we watch over. There's notes, mail, probes that we keep an eye on. And we do have a Lync server internally that we do monitor, but I don't have that configured at the moment for some reason. So notice as I'm mousing around here, everything seems to light up. That's because each one of these items is something that you can drill down on. If you want the real big picture, you really just have to look up here. And here I can see that of all my servers, I've got 13 that have no issues at all, 9 that have an issue of some kind or another, but they're not considered down, and we have 10 that are just not responding at all. Now, if I wanted to see my issues, regardless of server type, I click on Issues, and I can see that I've got issues with BlackBerry, I've got issues with DAG, I've got issues with some of my Domino servers, and I've got issues with my Exchange servers. If I go back to my dashboard and I say to myself, well, I'm a Domino administrator, so I want to see how my Domino servers are doing, I can click on the word Domino, and that will show me all of the Domino servers, or I could say, show me my Domino issues, click on the number 4, and it shows me the subset of servers, which are Domino servers, which are currently in an issue. And you can see in that list here that I've got 4 Domino servers, and when I mouse over that, I get a little more information about what's going on. I also get a summary here where this is saying the issue is with disk space on this server, and the issue is that this Traveler server is currently self-reporting that it is in a state of yellow. Now, even these rows are clickable. If I click on my DOM1 server, up comes a detail page here. And regardless of whether you're looking at a SharePoint server or an Exchange server or a Domino server, the first tab, this overall tab, is consistent, that we show you the performance, the disk space, the CPU, the memory, and the user count over the last 24 hours. So let me just bump back here and take a look at some Exchange servers. And if I click on an Exchange server, you see I get the same thing. I've got the performance, the disk space, the CPU, the memory, and the user count. And we do this to make it easier for people to understand as they're looking at the dashboard, sort of the attributes that are common across all server types are rendered in a common way. And what's cool here is that we auto-discover all the drives on a server, and we represent relative sizes. I can obviously see here that my C drive is much bigger than my E and F drives here, and that about half of the C drive is taken up. The other tab that is in common between all of our server types is the Health Assessment tab. What the Health Assessment tab tells you is that here is the set of tests that I performed against the server and whether the result was a pass or a fail. So there are some tests that we do for Exchange servers, like making sure that a client can access it through POP3 and that it has the appropriate services running for its role. How's the CPU, how's the memory, and so forth. And we do the same thing for our Domino servers, but of course the set of tests that we actually run against the Domino server is slightly different. If I click on that row, I'm going to get the detailed page, and you see we have a health assessment for that as well. Here the tests that we are running are Domino specific, and obviously the tests that we're doing for an Exchange server are Exchange specific. Now, those of you running hybrid environments know that the two servers are actually entirely different animals, so built on entirely different technologies. In the case of a Domino server, what we are doing is we are leveraging a Notes client that's installed on the VitalSigns machine, not the machine where I'm looking at it in the browser, but the machine where VitalSigns itself is actually running. And we're using a Notes client to connect to the server and perform these various tests against it using the Notes API or the Notes COM classes, where whatever one is appropriate. Here we do tests like, is the server responding to the Notes client? Yeah, that's a pass because it is responding. Is it responding to Telnet on port 1352? That's a pass because we don't even need to perform that test if it answers the Notes client. Does it have enough disk space? How's it doing on pending mail? How are the different server tasks that we told it to run? Are they running or not? Does it have enough threads for Traveler? Does it is Traveler self-reporting that it's okay or not? You see we've got two fails here. One is a dead mail I set at an artificially low threshold of 1 message, and the Traveler status, ideally, of a Traveler server would self-report that it's green. Because this server is self-reporting yellow, that's a fail. Then one of the differences here is that of the differences between an Exchange server and a Domino server is that with a Domino server, you care about the server tasks that are running, and with a Exchange server, you care about the Windows services that are running. up an Exchange server here. So with Domino is basically a host of a series of server tasks depending on the role. You'd be running HTTP and router and replicator and so forth. In the Exchange world, it's the Windows services they're running. So in the case of an Exchange server, rather than using a notes client and connecting to the Domino server in that way, with Exchange, what we do is we initiate a remote PowerShell session using a set of credentials that VitalSigns is given that are set up in your address book, and we run these scripts against the Exchange server looking for problems the same way we look for problems on the Domino side. One of the problems is, based on the role that the Exchange server is in, whether it's a CAS server, an Edge server, or mailbox server, or so forth, is the server running the necessary Windows services to perform the role? So overall is the same. Health assessment is the same. Then we've got server tasks or Windows services, and then the rest of the tabs are tweaked slightly depending on the server type. So this is a CAS server, so we've got just a subset of tests that are CAS. And if it's a mail server, we put in some stats like, okay, what's the total size of all the mail databases that you have on there? And again, this is, at least for us, was a bit of a learning experience that a mail database on the Domino side represents a single user. On the Exchange side, a mail database actually represents a group of users. So a single mail database might have 100 users in it or more. In the case of this Exchange server, there's 4 databases actually supporting 22 different mailboxes. So it's a different architecture. Let me go back to the overview here. You see on my dashboard, I've got all the different server types, and we've done a drill down into Exchange server, and we've done a drill down into Domino servers. VitalSigns also offers different screens to give you different measures of server health. So let me give you an example. In the case of a shop that is using Domino for mail, one of the critical pieces would be Traveler. So if you've got a Traveler server, that means you've got lots of mobile users, and you want to make sure that the Traveler is okay. So this is a page that gives you a subset of the servers which are Traveler servers and what their status is. So here's the Dom1 server. Traveler says it's yellow. It's running on 8.5. The servlet is okay. The data store is okay. HTTP is running fine. HTTP has enough threads. And here's a graph here that shows the number of device syncs over the last 24 hours. And you see this precipitous drop here. And that is because we live in the real world, and because we had a webinar scheduled today. Of course, one of our SANs went down last night and wasn't fully restored until this morning. So that actually does make an interesting data set for us to share with you guys, because I think that we all live in the real world. We all do have SANs that go down occasionally, and it's nice to be able to use a tool to be able to visualize what happened. So here's my IBM Traveler server health, and likewise we also have an Exchange server health page, and here's my Exchange server health, which is showing of all of my Exchange servers, how are they doing. And an Exchange server can also be a member of a DAG, and a DAG is the Database Availability Group. It's the Domino equivalent of replicating mail files across multiple servers. And when I logged onto the DAG health page this morning, just as I was prepping for this webinar, I was greeted with this screen full of red boxes. So at this point, I want to invite my colleague Tarun to jump in here. Tarun, you can unmute, and maybe you can explain to our attendees here what's going on here.
Hey, Alan, thanks for that. Basically, since we live in the real world and we do have this shop Exchange server set up, one of the key things about Exchange is the ability to replicate mail files over different databases and have those databases readily available for any kind of a disaster recovery. Well, one lesson learned over here is that as you spoke about the SAN failure, we learned that both the mailboxes and both the Exchange servers were actually on that SAN server, so we had a total failover. So we are going through a recovery point right now, and that's the great thing right now. I thought this morning that we were recovered fully until I was able to log on to VitalSigns dashboard, and that's the best thing about VitalSigns over here, I thought that we were able to send and receive mails, but unless I saw this, I didn't realize that actually we were able to send mails, but the database is not actually replicating. And I think this screen, as for any Exchange administrator, gives an absolute great representation of issues that we administrators will face. And some of these issues cannot be seen on a day-to-day basis unless an administrator is constantly logging onto the Exchange server. But this dashboard completely says it in one word: what, when, where, and why. And as you see here, we have a couple of databases, activation preferences that say that the databases which is supposed to be active, it's not active. And why is it not active? Well, basically, one of the Exchange server has completely failed in replicating the mailbox databases to the other Exchange server. And it's a great feature. I think the best thing about DAG monitoring is that an administrator in Exchange world does not have this facility, first of all, to actually constantly monitor DAG. And I think this is one of the features about VitalSigns that makes it completely transparent and visible about the environment.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Tarun. Normally, I was intending to show you that we have 2 DAGs in production, and on a big environment, the first line here would be the list of all of the different DAGs that you have set up, and our PowerShell scripts auto-detect those and fill all this stuff in. And as you click from one row to another, the rest of the boxes get filled in automatically. But another thing that obviously jumped out at us immediately was, hey, where'd the DAG go? That if you're responsible for your Exchange environment, and one of the things that you're relying on for failover is your DAG, having a DAG health page, I think, is indispensable. The other thing is that when this did happen, of course, there were a number of alerts that went out, and I'm going to switch over from our dashboard here over to the configurator. And the configurator is where the actual administrators would go in to set up the various monitoring attributes. So for instance, here are the servers and devices that I want to monitor. For all of these, you can set, scan interval and your various thresholds, whether it's Domino or Exchange or Lync or so forth. But another critical one is setting up your alert definitions. So we've got a whole bunch of these set up here. And with an alert definition, you can create any number of these. The alert says, here's the name of the alert, and the hours and email destination is such that you could say, during the day, I want this to go to my regular work email, but after hours, I want this to go to a Gmail account, or I want it to forward to my phone. So when you're setting up alert destinations, you can say, you can have any number of recipients going to different people, different days of the week, and different hours. And you can even specify specific hours. So you can say, Monday through Friday, starting at 12 a.m. and going for 6 hours, which would be, until 6 in the morning. I want it to go to my offshore call center. Once the people start to come in the office, I want them to go to onshore group, and you can set up follow the sun alerts this way, and you can specify the types of alerts that you want those recipients to receive. So there's alert types for Exchange, and there's alert types for SharePoint and so forth. If you want to get, all the alerts related to Exchange, you can just check that box, and you can specify, for these types of alerts, this is the subset of servers that I'm interested in hearing the alerts for. And, you can set up multiple of these so that you can say, during the day, I'd like to hear about any alert that happens, but off hours, I only want to hear if a server becomes not responding or if I have a meltdown in one of my DAGs, as we did last night. So the alert definitions is an important part of the product as well. So let me just pop back to the dashboard here. Regardless of whether you're running on Exchange for email or Domino for email, it's likely that you have lots of mobile users. And mobile users can either access through a Traveler server on Domino, or they access a CAS server through ActiveSync in the Exchange world. And we seamlessly interact with both of those things and query the server types to pull in all of the different devices and the users and their device names and when they last synchronized and what build, if that's appropriate, is working on. And then we put that into our SQL database, and SQL allows us to perform lots of different renderings of the information. So you can say, just show me the devices that have synchronized within the last 15 minutes, or show me all the devices that, for whatever reason, have not synchronized in the last 15 minutes. Or maybe 15 minutes is too aggressive. You say, show me the ones that have synchronized within the last 30 minutes or the last hour or so. That might, be the Wi-Fi devices that are not connected or so forth. You can say, show me all the users that have more than one device. And we've run this at lots of different companies, and one of our bigger customers that has 40 some odd Traveler servers had a substantial number of users with more than 9 devices. I think the biggest one I saw was some guy that had 11 devices. So we also allow you to show just the, quote, key users, which of course, being the webinar host, I would be the first one on the list. But what a key user means is that for a subset of all your devices, you can, right-click and say, I want to monitor this device. And this is for those, shall we say, special users that you have in your company that require extra hand-holding. You can say that if Jim's iPhone ever goes more than 30 minutes without syncing, I want to hear about it. Also, we want it rendered in a slightly different way. So I can look at my mobile devices. I say, show me all the different device types that are out there and what's the distribution of those, either by name or by count. We can look at our sync times, so more than, I can add up the slices here, but between the last hour, virtually all of my machines have synchronized. Just 12% have gone more than 2 hours without synchronizing. And I can say, well, of the key users, how many of those are doing have a problem? Or I can say, from all of my devices, show me the subtype of, by OS type. I can drill down and say, how are all my Android devices doing versus my iOS devices. And that was feedback that a customer gave us because they did have an outage that, for whatever reason, only affected a subset of their device types, and it took them a while to track that down. So whether you are on Exchange or Domino, mobile devices is something that the executives and the salespeople are all hypersensitive about. If they can't get their email within 5 seconds of requesting it, they want to know what's going on with it. The other thing that is common across all these server types, whether it's Exchange or Domino or SharePoint and Sametime or so forth, is that if one of your servers runs out of disk space, you are going to have a problem. So we have a screen here under key metrics called disk health, and at a glance it just shows you here are all of my servers, and for each of those servers all of their disk drives that are on there, and you see that Domino and Exchange have slightly different naming conventions, where Domino likes to call everything disk dot and then the name, and Exchange doesn't do that. They like to call it the name with a colon. But either way, we've managed to normalize the data and put it all in one screen, and you can set different types of thresholds, either in percent, which you see here. This one says, let me know if it goes below 10%, or in absolute gigabytes. And this was feedback we got from customers that said, hey, I got a 2 terabyte drive. So the fact that I've got 5% disk space is actually not really a problem. So you can set the thresholds either way. You can also say there are certain drives on a server that you just for whatever reason don't want to monitor. So the ones that are not color-coded are not monitored at all. The ones that are green have plenty of space. The ones that are red are under their threshold. And then the ones that are yellow are within the threshold that you specify. So you can actually go in there and fine-tune and say, I want it to go yellow when it gets within 10% or 20% or whatever you need. We also allow you to see who's got the biggest mail files, and whether that's in the Domino world or whether that's in the Exchange world. We pull out the data and we render it the same way. So the management information that you need can all be accessed from a single dashboard, which is VitalSigns, whether you're on BlackBerry still. We have some customers that are still on that, or on Domino or Exchange, or as you're moved to the cloud, Office 365, or wherever you go, VitalSigns is going to be here for you. So that wraps up my whirlwind demo. I hope I've left you wanting more. We would love to have anybody in the audience who doesn't have VitalSigns already to try it out in your own environment. It's a lot more interesting when you're looking at your own servers that have issues, I think, than looking at my servers. And Scott, why don't we open up the floor to questions now?
Okay, great. We do have some questions already lined up. But just a reminder to everyone, this is a great time for you to ask questions. And the way to do that is just to expand your GoToWebinar panel using the red button with the red arrow. Click that as it's pointing to the left, and you will see in the sections an area to expand for questions, and you can just type in questions and we'll go ahead and address those for you. So first question is, will this tool monitor Domino, Sametime, and Traveler servers running on IBM iSeries?
Yes, I see that's a question from Jeff. Absolutely, Jeff, it will do that. And the reason for that is because as far as the VitalSigns, well, as far as the servers are concerned, VitalSigns is just another Notes client. So we're actually using the Notes client installed on the monitoring workstation. And just like the Notes client and your end users don't know or care whether your servers are running on Windows or iSeries or Linux or whatever, what have you, VitalSigns doesn't care either. The only thing that is a requirement is that your Notes client on that machine has to have a sufficient ID, and if they're in different domains or whatever, you have to be cross-certified and so forth. But any server that your Notes client can get to, we can monitor and render into the dashboard. Great question.
All right, perfect. Next question. Are Microsoft apps licensed the same way as Domino servers?
Question from Graham, my good friend. Thank you very much. At this point, they are, yes. We try to have a simple as possible licensing model, and some of our vendors, some of our competitors have this, spreadsheet mix of users and servers and so forth. But we try to keep everything as simple as possible, and so it's a per server license, and the actual license fee itself may be less per server, and that is to reflect the reality that to do something in the Exchange world that you can do in the Domino world often takes twice or 3 times as many Microsoft servers. So it would only seem fair that the cost per server would be a little bit less.
Perfect. All right, we have another question coming from Joni, basically wanting to know, do you have plans for Google Apps?
We have plans for cloud applications in general. I don't have it on the dashboard here. It's in our lab. I do have a, here it is, a rendering of, whoops, how do I do that here? My slide. Of what it might look like. Our intention is that one of our back-end SQL tables will be a list of 200 or so cloud applications. And initially what we're going to do with our cloud applications is just log on to the URL, pass the credentials, the username, password, and see what we get back as a response. And we can look for certain key phrases like, welcome to Salesforce, or Stripe dashboard or something, so that we know that you actually were able to reach the service and get some of the text that you expected. And then our phase 2 of our cloud application monitoring is going to be more of a deep dive, and that's going to be, I think, driven by the customers that adopted first. So in the case of, say, Salesforce, one of the things we're going to do is using the Salesforce API is to create a case, create a lead, make sure that some of the core functions that are in there as well. So if you have specific questions or specific concerns about Google Apps, I would love to work with you offline after the webinar and see what we can do to make sure that the Google Apps that you rely on are actually up and running.
Perfect. One question that's coming in offline that one of the users that couldn't attend had asked me to ask, what type of overhead would be on their server to run your software?
As far as the servers are concerned, VitalSigns is just another user out on your network. And at this point, I think both Domino and Exchange are pretty well optimized for juggling the competing demands of hundreds of simultaneous users. So it would not be something that I believe you would even be able to notice. And we're not pinging the server every 5 seconds either. We generally recommend a scan interval somewhere in the 5 to 10 minute range. So every 5 minutes or every 8 minutes, we might just say to the server, "Hey, are you alive?" And then if it is, then we go quiet for 8 minutes. 8 minutes, and then we do it again. So that's not it's not something that's going to bring the servers to its knees the way some monitoring tools do.
Perfect.
Good question. Yeah.
Excellent. And how does VitalSigns handle a multi-tenant environment? So I'm going to clarify this because I know this question. So they have several subsidiary companies that they're managing, but it's in a multi-tenant environment.
Right. Well, let me see if I switch over to my dashboard here. We do have the ability under setup and security, when you're setting up users. Is that where we do it, sorry, under assigned server access, where you can, first you have to set up the users, of course, and the users have their own unique username and password. And just in case that triggers any licensing questions, we do not require you to pay extra for how many users you have licensed to use VitalSigns. But once you've got the users configured, you can then pick from the list of administrators and say, this guy right here either can view and administer servers in any location, or can only is limited to certain locations. So, our case internally, we've got major offices in both New Jersey and Arizona. So I might say, this guy, since he works in the New Jersey office, you'd only see the servers that are in New Jersey. And then you can also even say, all right, within that subset of locations, you can even take away specific servers from that location. So you see, once I selected that the New Jersey servers are visible here, down here it said, okay, well, here are your New Jersey servers. I could say, well, but he's not a BlackBerry user, so I want to take those away as well. So this administrator can see any server that's in New Jersey except for the BlackBerry servers. Now, in terms of specifically, addressing the issue of multi-tenant, you said this guy, is it an Exchange shop or a Domino shop?
Domino shop.
A Domino shop. All right. One of the challenges with Domino shops is if it's multi-tenant and you're watching over different groups of servers, the limiting factor with the Notes client is that you can't, switch IDs from the Notes API very easily. So if you wanted to do multi-tenant for completely different organizations that are not cross-certified, for which, to get to organization A, you have one, location, and you switch IDs, and you put a password, and then you go to server organization B, and it's another thing, then VitalSigns doesn't quite work yet. However, because the dashboard and the actual monitoring are separate components, we could work with that guy to have different monitoring workstations running in different VMs with a different Notes ID and different set of credentials and connection documents and so forth, feeding into the same back-end SQL database so that you can see all of the status in one place if you want to do it that way. But that would be a bit of a customization. It's not really optimized for multi-tenant out of the box.
Okay, perfect. I think he'll be happy to know that.
Okay.
There are possibilities.
Yeah, there are possibilities, yeah.
Perfect. Great. Okay, we are approaching the time limit, so I'm going to do a final call for questions.
Time does fly.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
and I think one of the important things about monitoring is that to know and to have knowledge is power. And if you know what's going on with your servers, then you're not going to be caught off guard. The one question I had, just a personal question, the mobile interface via the phone or an iPad, does it still have the tap-down, drill-down abilities?
If you're doing it from an iPad or a, quote, large device or tablet, you just access this, and it has some level of responsiveness. The menus will shrink down and stuff so that it fits. But when you're running the native, iPhone or Android app, it's a different app entirely. So it's basically just a rendering of the top level of the dashboard, except they're stacked on top of each other instead of spread across the screen. And then you can drill down, but just to the level of an individual server, where you would see, let's see, kind of like something like what you get when you, yeah, there it is, our mouse over effect. We didn't bring, every screen like the Traveler Health or the Disc Health and so forth onto the small screen, but
Yeah,
It's our
we'd have
first
to.
iteration of it, and we'll have to see how,
You have to sell a magnifying
customers
glass.
want it. Yeah, I know.
Zoom in on that.
Right
Go
now.
ahead, I dare
Yeah,
you.
there it is.
Perfect. But it is important that if you're out and about, you can actually see that you got a health issue of a server, and that you get some details, and you can be call to action right away and not wait. So that's excellent.
We know we have a couple of customers that have that in production, so we're pretty excited about that, actually.
Yeah, that was exciting. Excellent. Okay, so I think we're at the end of our questions.
Thank you so much, Scott, for having us today. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Taryn and Alan. Thank you for your time and efforts to prepare this and have it ready to go. And just a reminder to everyone, we'll probably have this posted either on Friday or possibly Monday once we get all the video translated over to Flash so we can get it up on the websites. But we'll send you a link when it's available. So if you can want to share that with other colleagues in your organization, your management team, so they can see that even they can be seeing what's happening, that would be perfect. Okay, thank you very much. And if you do want to contact RPR Wyatt, just go to rprwyatt.com and you'll see the contact information. You can contact them from them. I'll also send out an email with their contact information so that you can contact them directly. Thank you again, and have a great day, everybody.
Thanks again, Scott.
Thank you for doing that.